All right. Thank you. And that was really good advice from Cho, by the way, about writing things down beforehand. Just especially in mirror matchups, it's very important not to mix up the two players, of course. Anyway, so thank you very much, Park X, for coming on, and we'll be moving on to our next contestant. Our next contestant is Kenny. Kenny did a very interesting game also between Rhett and JF, Zerg versus Protoss, and we'll be watching some clips from his video right now.
Hey everyone, this is Kenny bringing you a very special match today. We're going to have Tote Red versus Mim, and I'm just going to call him JF for simplicity's sake. Right now, I think that pretty much the Mutalisks aren't going to be coming out. It looks like this was just a hoax, and in fact, he is just going to get Scourge for those Corsairs and just go straight to a Hydra build, which I have to say again, I think is brilliant play by Rhett so far. I'm extremely surprised. Man, I am eating my words like the lunch I just ate all over the place, man. Rhett is surprising me each and every moment. Gosh, I am just, man, that was amazing play. Way to pick off the Archons with the Mutalisks. I think right now is about the time where Rhett needs to start either thinking about Hive Tech, maybe moving to Lurkers, or maybe even going for like a drop or something on the main, because he's starting to get to this point where the Protoss has enough economy going that he can really just pick up his macro and just steamroll over Rhett, which is not a good position to be in. And there you can see the Lurkers right there. So my game sense kicking in a little bit. And I expect JF to push out very shortly here. He's already at 2-1 upgrades to the only 0-1 upgrades of Rhett. So huge upgrade advantage. JF's drinking his muscle milk, and Rhett is not drinking his at all, man. He's the scrawny little nerd that's sitting in front of his computer and hasn't ever worked out in his life, doesn't even know what a workout machine is. Finally taking out the expansion over there, which I was hoping he'd do for such a long time. So I really hope that Rhett can provide some kind of tier 3 tech support soon, because otherwise this army is just going to run right over the small army of Rhett. And really nothing else special going on right now, just another building up. Looks like Ultralist speed is going on. I don't know why he's getting Ultralist speed, because I don't think he's really got enough gas to produce as many Ultralisks as he needs to take out this army. So if I were him, I would have tried to I would have produced a whole lot more cracklings, really flooded the map, put a lot of pressure everywhere, taken out as many units as you can while building up a huge Ultralisk army. And trust me, I have seen some just ridiculous armies from JF. His Stormers are some of the best, so you really have to focus on your micro, and this is just dumb. Going into this is not a smart idea. Now, with the Swarm, it's good, but again, this is what's going to happen right there. All those storms going off with just those two Archons with upgraded energy, some Reavers coming in, and I think that's just throwing your units away right there, to be honest. I don't think they served as much a purpose as they could if you were to gather a larger army. And where's the GG? There's that last Ultra. GG! Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Kenny out.
All right, we got to see some clips from Kenny, and we'll be starting with the judges telling us what they thought overall about the contestants. Chill, you're first.
Alright, thank the Lord. Finally someone who actually plays this game talking about it. I mean, this is such a breath of fresh air, having Kenny casting. That's my major comment. He actually seems to know what he's talking about, which is so refreshing. Kind of contrary to that, my first comment was that he assumed the 3-hatch was going to be 3-hatch Muta, even though it was clearly 3-hatch Scourge into 5-hatch Hydra, which is a pretty popular build, but I can forgive him for that. His tech switch analysis, when he mentioned that Rhett needed to switch from Hydralisk to Lurker's Drop or Hive Tech, that analysis was the best I've heard this week. It was so right, and his analysis of what the follow-up should have been were all correct. He kept an eye on the upgrades in ZVP, which is so important. That's so telling of who has control of the armies. So I really enjoyed that. I didn't like when he mentioned he was talking about Hive Tech should have come sooner. I think if you're playing this style, you'll see. I don't know if Kenny is a Zerg player or what his background is, but if you're playing this Hydra style, you have to delay your Hive Tech, and Hive Tech becomes less important as opposed to when you're playing with Lurkers. So that was a little off. Also, saying he didn't have enough gas for Ultralisk. I mean, he had 4 geysers. I don't know how much gas you want him to have. So that was a little off. Um, the other thing that made me believe you had watched this replay before, when Rhett is flooding the top right with Ultra Lurker, that seems like, and Defiler Swarms as well, that seems like a really strong, well-timed attack and well-directed attack to me. And you're telling me that it's very wrong and that Rhett is going to lose the game because of this attack? That makes me think that you already know what's going to happen, and I'd be interested to see afterwards if that's true or not. My only final comment was that your biased commentary got a little old. I mean, we all know JF is really, really, really good, but he can't be good at everything. Like, something he does has to be better than other things, and that's his Reaver control. JF is known for Reavers. So you can't keep saying JF is known for his macro, JF is known for his storms, JF is known for his upgrades, he's known for his Reaver control, he's known for his multitasking. He can't be known for everything, so that was a little off too. But other than that, I mean, I'm just giving you the negative comments here mostly. Everything else was amazing.
I have to agree with Chill here on your praise, your overwhelming praise of JF. It did get a little old for a while, after a while for me. Let's see. Your opening was good, but be careful of your microphone. I think there was a little bit of I don't know, mic weirdness there. You clearly have integrated a lot of the comments from previous episodes of Commentator Idol. Your fluency was a lot better, and actually your color, or the sort of descriptions, the extra analogies and descriptions that you use that didn't relate directly to the game, was much better. And your confidence is great, definitely. Let's see. I did feel like there were moments in the game where I wasn't sure whether you were aiming this commentary at noobs or at more advanced players, because there were times when you sort of took a minute to really explain the purpose of a unit or a building as though I were someone who had just picked up StarCraft, last week or something. And then there were definitely moments when you were clearly aiming your commentary more towards the higher level players. Be careful of the observer control. I got kind of seasick. This was a major complaint of mine for this commentary, which was otherwise very strong. And let's see. I was wondering why we didn't see the Dark Templar drops in as far as harassing, as far as economy harassment. You mentioned that like there were Dark Templar drops, and that's why the SCV count was lower or something like that, but we didn't see them, and I was like, well, why didn't we see them? And why all the hate on geeks? Why, saying, he's this guy's just like the nerd sitting in front of his computer and has never worked out a day in his life. Why the hate? I like geeks. I think they're cool people. Anyway, that's it. That's it from me. Overall, very good.
All right, Kenny, I actually probably have the most comments for you, so sorry for taking a little while longer. But first off, you might want to consider getting a better mic or a new mic or a headset, because the beginning was a little bit painful with the popping of the P's and things like that. Something to think about. Then I got to agree with Chill with some of your negative calls. The one thing that stuck out the most to me was when you said, like Chill said, that he didn't have enough bases for ultras, and maybe I counted it wrong, but I actually thought he had 6 bases and 5 gas, and I was thinking to myself, oh my god, what does he need, the entire map to make ultras? So that kind of, I found that a little bit painful to listen to, as well as also the Defiler attack, which was a big tell to me that you had seen the replay before, as well as the really just calling every single fight as being JF's versus the Zerg player. I thought that you just really were had watched it a few times and was heavily favoring the winner. And one of the things that you got to do as a commentator, especially if you've seen a game before, you kind of got to pretend that you haven't seen the game before at all. So even though you know that one player is going to win, you got to spin it like you have no idea what's about to happen, because honestly, for the most part, JF was held back in his base for a long time, and it wasn't until the end that he really got out. And I felt that the entire, with the exception of some DT drops and harassment, harassments, I felt that the game actually seemed a little bit more even to me as a first-time observer than you were giving it credit for, which again kind of ruined a portion of the game. And then lastly, the following, taking his thing out of your mouth a little bit. Make sure that you're not overly favoring the player that is going to win, because again, it was just kind of ruined the commentary for me a little bit.
Okay, and let's go to the questions from our judges.
Alright, first off, I gotta know, even though I'm pretty sure you did you watch this replay before?
Actually, surprisingly enough, I did not watch this replay ahead of time. I'd gotten a lot of criticism the week before regarding watching the replays, so I actually did not watch this replay before I went ahead and casted it. I think what really threw off and what really made it look like I'd watched it was I actually, to be completely honest, did not see the Defiler with that attack that happened at the 3 o'clock-ish position. And so I thought basically he was throwing just some Ultralisks and Lurkers into a whole bunch of cannons and Stormers. And so I will admit I did miss the Defiler altogether, and when I saw the swarms go up, I kind of didn't mention that I hadn't seen that, and so I think it proved to be a lot better of an attack when the swarms were there, obviously, since they pretty much nullified the cannons. So that was one thing I did miss. So I did not actually watch the replay, but I think it did. That comment on the third, or that attack on the 3 o'clock position did make it look like I might have watched the replay.
Alright, just to comment on your answer here, it's kind of a personal pet peeve for me. When people call dragoons goons, that doesn't really bother me because that's a commonly accepted slang. But when people call Templar stormers, like, that really just drives me insane because there's no reason they should be called that. They do more than storm, so I'd appreciate if you, and you did that in your commentary too, I'd appreciate if you didn't do that again. My second comment, I just wanted to know why you decided this was a good replay to cast.
Well, to be quite honest, I've watched a lot of games from Rhett and JF, both of them, and they're very well-known players, and I like both their styles, and I knew that these players were just really good players all around, and I knew that they always offered interesting play, at least in my eyes, so I think that was mainly the reason. I think that Protoss vs. Zerg is a really fun match to watch too. A lot of really exciting moments, and it's just I've always enjoyed watching that matchup. So I think that also played a key in why I picked this replay.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it was probably the best game that was selected, and I think that's part of this challenge of being a commentator is actually selecting a really strong game. Just to comment on some of Peanut's comments, I think it's silly to try to target one fan base with your commentary. Obviously you're going to favor one or the other, but I think you should try to ensnare as many people in the net of your commentary as you can. So if you have to kind of slow down to explain something, that's fine, as long as you every once in a while have an advanced comment in there, which I feel you did well. And I mean, you're going to have to see other people's comments. The seasickness was not an issue for me whatsoever, so I don't know if that was an issue for many people. And also, I think missing the DT drops was understandable. There was a lot going on. And I think even if you miss something, as long as you can analyze maybe how it happened, what's missing, and how this is going to affect the game forward, not many people will miss actually seeing the DT killing the drones. So that's all I had.
Yeah, I do agree with Chill on that one. You don't need to apologize. We know that you're human, and it just sort of throws me off a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, so I of course have no objection to you targeting your commentary to a wide range of people, whether they are familiar with high-level StarCraft play or not. It's just that if you go too extreme, like if you're telling me, what a forge does, that the forge has upgrades in it, or if you're telling me photon cannons, kill things and detect things, then it's a little bit disorienting to suddenly be like, oh, and now he's going into, this very technical strategy and explaining that. Let's see. So my question is, why all the hatred for nerds? Think of your audience. Think of the poor guys out there who are like, oh man, you know, I sit in front of my computer, but I also work out. Where's the love for them?
That's funny you bring
Jeez,
that
don't
up.
take it so personally.
I'm I'm
Hey,
actually a nerd
I am a
myself.
nerd and I'm proud of it. Yes, you are a nerd too. I'm a nerd and proud
Yeah,
of
I
it.
know that.
And I'm just looking out for you guys.
I
That's
don't get
understandable.
offended when people call me that, though. Like, I don't understand why this comment keeps being brought up.
Well, I think the one thing that I looked up, and probably wasn't the best comment to make, but I think in a lot of sense, I don't think you really. I look at nerd as really an offensive thing, and honestly, you'll see a lot of the top commentators. I think I take this kind of style from a couple of the commentators who are doing this professionally now, and they do bring up kind of these sayings of nerdism and crushing nerds and whatnot, and maybe not the best time for it. I think I was trying to pull something out that just didn't quite come out as I really wanted it to. But no hatred. I love you guys all. You all know that. I'm a nerd myself. I sit in front of my computer probably more than anyone else, and I'm not the most muscly guy in the world either. So there you go.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. It's all in good fun.
All right, Kenny, I got a couple questions for you as well. My first one is, I think that you really are one of the more technically sound commentators, be it from playing a lot or doing the research necessary just to know what's going on in the game. But what threw you off in that Ultra build that made you say that he didn't have the economy to support it?
Yeah, I actually was kind of kicking myself, to be honest, when I heard that overrise. I think what was going on in my mind during that moment in time was, okay, I've seen the DT drops, I've seen that there's been some harassed economy, and it didn't look like, I guess looking at the army of Ret, I was just kind of saying, man, it doesn't look like, I thought, I kind of expected an attack from JF sooner with his huge army, and I was thinking more on the basis of time constraints and are ultras going to be able? Is he going to be able to get ultras out in the amount of time he needs them? And I think that I really analyzed the game incorrectly at that point. Obviously, it went on a lot longer, and he did have the gas to create a lot more ultralisks at that point. And I actually did go on in my commentary further saying that he should have saved up a lot more ultralisks, which is kind of contradicting what I had said before. And I did notice that, and I kind of was kicking myself about that. He did have plenty of gas to create Ultralist. I think I was just looking at it more on a time constraint basis, like I said. So a little bit of misjudgment by me on that part.
Yeah, I got one last comment, and that is, don't stop being politically incorrect if that's what you like to do. I get comments all the time, PMs all the time. Why did you use the word retarded? I'm half retarded. That offends me. Well, that's because that's what I felt like saying. All right. So really, just continue doing whatever it is you like to do, and don't worry about being politically incorrect. It's gonna offend people no matter what you say.
Oh, what, JC Stacy? Oh, sorry, I was just saying goodbye to my two hookers. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
Well, I think it's good that we have a balanced representation on this judging panel, even if my points of view may be slightly in the minority.
All right, and our fifth and final contestant for today is Mr. Smiley. He did an exciting game between Android and China TTTTT, which was a Terran versus Terran, and it ended up with two contrasting builds that it was pretty spectacular in the mid game, I have to say. So let's watch his clips from his submission.
Good evening, StarCraft fans. Smiley here. Just want to really quick mention we are doing a foreign game here, no Korean players at all, so none of all that crazy pro stuff that you've seen. But I think this will hopefully be a solid game. This was taken from the 2008 World Cyber Games in Germany, and the game we have here is China TTTT and Android. Android here in the blue representing Russia, and China here in the orange representing obviously China. Very fast refinery, very fast gas for Android. Look at this, there isn't even a refinery yet for China. Wow, what does this mean? What does this mean? Fast gas. Well, I could only assume this is going to be going into some sort of starport build. Obviously, any Terran versus Terran game, you have to get your gas and you have to get it fast because you need that for all of your tech. I haven't studied or seen any build where you go supply depot right into refinery immediately. So very fast build. I don't know. I'll have to come up with some sort of name for it. But Wraiths themselves are just so fragile and so weak. And you know what? I know what I'm going to call this. I am going to call that the China doll build after Kenny's porcelain doll analogy from last round of the StarCraft Commentator Idol. There you go, the China doll build. It is a refinery right after supply depot, and then eventually taking to as fast a starport as you can. Another Wraith out as well, so 2 Wraiths. I don't know if Android's going to build any more. I don't think it'd be a good idea to build more Wraiths. That Wraith is pretty badly damaged here. Goliath coming out. Oh boy. Oh, that Goliath with a snipe. Oh man, maybe I'm getting too excited, but that was a great snipe by that Goliath. Taking out the Wraith. China with some vultures. What's going on? Oh no, Android just opened his front door. He said, get off my lawn, but I'm going to go ahead and open up the back porch door for you to just come waltzing in. Oh my gosh, the SCV transfer going on. SCV transfer is totally disrupted, and China is going to get just a beautiful look at everything that is going on in Android's base. Wow. But no vultures at all. Literally just strictly tanks from Android, and just a great composition with some Goliaths and tanks and some vultures with by China. So this could mean the game just having just a better composition of units is never a bad thing. And we are going to see a push here coming out from Android. Android, oh no, Android not sieged. He is going to rush right into a huge group of siege tanks, and we have mines going off. We have a mine drag there. It was okay. Oh my gosh, dropship going down. Oh, Android losing all but 2 tanks to this. Just rushing in at the wrong time. China doll build in going to the very, very fast gaths to starports, taking up the starport very quickly, didn't work, but it also didn't really hurt Android, I don't feel. I feel like he was able to get the economy and had the advantage of that most of the game. China, excellent scouting. Excellent job in seeing exactly everything that was going on. Great contain in that plateau, and really just played better.
Okay, so judges, what did you think about how Smiley did? Chill, you're up first.
Alright, well again we have the pause intro versus live intro contradiction. I believe his pause intro here was a little long and unnecessary. It was nice to give us introduce the players and the context of the game, but Terran vs. Terran starts up so slow. I think you can just talk about that while the game is going on, so I didn't really enjoy the pause at the start. He was the only player who figured out how to cover the replay bar, and I thought that was just fantastic, which is a really big deal. I mean, if you want to get any sort of competitive enjoyment out of analyzing the game, you can't do it with the replay bar there, so really, really big points to him for doing that. And now we're going downhill because you called the map Blue Storm, and while I don't want to hang you on this because there's many other things to hang you on, I mean, I just don't understand how this can happen. I appreciate that the replay was mislabeled, but Blue Storm doesn't look anything like Ride of Valkyries. Like, the starting positions aren't even in the same spot. You're on high ground to start. Like, it's just... These things are compounding that make me think you don't actually understand anything about StarCraft and you just stumbled onto a website and figured out how to use a microphone. Because, I mean, you've never heard of one port cloak? Really? Like, this is a very common modern Terran vs. Terran build. And I actually find it a borderline offensive that you're saying like it's never been seen before and you're going to credit it to China TTTT for coming up with it and you're going to give it a name. Like, the analogy I see from this is like someone stumbling into casting hockey and noticing one player's missing and he's going to call it like bonus round time or something like that. Like, clearly there are established names for these things and these are established builds, and emphasizing the fact that you've never seen it before just makes me start to kind of tune you out. And the theme seems to be that you're talking more and more about things you have no idea about, and I mean, I couldn't listen, really, to tell you the truth. At the end, you're talking about the army composition, that Android is not going to win this game because he doesn't have vultures. Like, who in their right mind has ever come to that conclusion in Terran vs. Terran? There's not enough vultures on the ground. So, I mean, I don't even want to go on. It was a terrible game, terrible cast. And I think the only redeeming factor was that you covered the replay bar and you gave a reasonable post-game analysis.
All right, I just want to give two producer's notes. First off, the way he covered it up, it might not be evident from the video you're watching now, but he actually came up with a YouTube annotation to cover that replay box. It's a pretty good idea, and I think other commentators should do that. So it's only viewable from his video list, though, with the appropriate box. The second thing is he did mention to me as the sort of the head host of the show that he knew he had made the mistake about the map name, and he asked if he thought it was a good idea for him to redo it, and I said it was his choice, but I was going to say that I had informed the judges about it beforehand, so that he did notice it right away. But anyway, that is something still to be considered, even despite these facts. So anyway, that's the end of the producer's notes. Moving on to Peanut.
All right. Well, Smiley, you get the color award. You get the Peanut Color Award this week. You had some wonderful lines in this commentary. The barracks high five was hilarious. I appreciate what you did naming this build the China doll build, even though you might not have had sort of the right, quote unquote, to name it. The Gran Torino of StarCraft was excellent, and that part where the vultures sneak in, and you said it was like closing the front door but opening the back porch door and come on in. That was wonderful too. There was a point where you said some units were practicing synchronized dying. That was hilarious. I wrote Raffle in my notes. And yeah, good stats and nice information about the World Cyber Games StarCraft players. That being said, I don't want to belabor Chill's point too much, but let's say that your good lines were definitely your strong point during this commentary, and I will pass it to Rise.
All right, my comments are half Chill, half Peanut. Basically, I felt that you certainly are probably the weaker technical player compared to some of the other casters, and I also thought that that's shown through a little bit. But like Peanut said, I actually enjoyed a lot of your color. I thought that a lot of the things that you said were funny. I thought the China doll build was kind of funny. Maybe you don't have the right to name it, but who cares? So I thought that was good. And then you know, you definitely let me down a little bit on even the play-by-play action with what was going on. But for the most part, I mean, the meat of your commentary wasn't bad to me. The entertainment value was there, but I gotta agree, a lot of the technical backing was not there. And I know this is because you're frankly not a very good StarCraft player, as you showed us in one of your replays for your original submission, which is cool. That's fine. So the only thing I can say is, you know, I gotta recommend. You know, you don't have to be an Olympic swimmer to enjoy swimming, but if you're gonna commentate Olympic swimming, you should make sure to do the research involved with it. So make sure that you watch FP VODs to learn build orders. That's a great way to do it if you don't have the time to actually play yourself. And just make sure you have the real information to back it up, because really that's you're going to get called on it, and you just did.
All right, and we're going to move on to questions for the contestant.
All right, so I'm wondering, what were you thinking when you hung on the fact that you didn't understand the build? Your analysis, although made up yourself, was actually very accurate, realizing that quick gas does mean you need both tech and units, which the only thing that makes sense for is a starport cloak rush, which you did kind of analyze accurately. Why did you keep saying you didn't understand the build and keep coming back to this build? Why weren't you just done with it and move forward? I can't understand this.
Well, I do want to say quickly that I've seen two-port race, I've seen fast gas. My point wasn't to say this was a new build, or that China, you know, or actually would have been Android, was like pioneering the build. The point was I hadn't studied that build. So in me studying Terran builds before I went into this game, because I will admit that definitely, I mean, I've played StarCraft for 10 years. I've only been watching pro games for about 6 years. Or 6 months, I'm sorry. I only just recently got into this for my brother. So anyways, it was probably definitely an overreaction, but I just wanted to point out that I hadn't studied this personally, and that you know, it was of course a very fast gas, and but I agree, I probably could have qualified that a lot better and maybe said, well, you know, Personally, I haven't seen this, or I haven't read about this, but of course I've seen plenty of Terran players actually do this build in pro games. So,
All right. Secondly, I want to know if you actually believe that a Terran army composed with relatively equal parts tanks, vultures, and Goliaths is strong, or if that was just a misstep when you brought up the composition of China TTTT's army.
well, I mean, you'll notice that when Android attacked China, he got his dropship killed by the Goliaths, he got blasted by the tanks, and he got killed by several mine drags from vultures. So yeah, I believe that that was very important and probably one of the keys to China winning the game. Obviously, composition means more when you're playing against other races. For instance, like with Zerg or with Protoss, you need a lot of vultures to take out the zealots coming in, that are trying to take out the tanks and all that kind of thing. So I agree that composition probably doesn't mean quite as much in Terran versus Terran, but I do feel that at least in this game, I think it made a difference. But if I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it.
Alright, well I think you're terribly wrong. I think the tactics in this game were much more important than the unit composition. I mean, you've got a player sieged and the other player attacking into the siege. Like, that's clearly the more important factor in this game, which was not even mentioned whatsoever. My final question is, why did you pick this game? The way I see it, it's a player doing a build, the other player deflecting it, and then one player throwing away the game, attacking into the other one. Like, what am I supposed to get from this game that warrants commentary?
Well, I think the main reason is I like to challenge myself, and I think maybe it was a little too much. Terran is my worst, as you guys pointed out. It's my worst personal race, and I did post that game of me just sucking with it horribly, and obviously that was for comedic purposes. But I don't know. I mean, I was trying to challenge myself with the game. It was from the World Cyber Games, so it was, even though it was a foreign game, it was still, of course, quite pertinent to to history and as far as what's going on, and then obviously him losing to Luxury after that and all that good stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I watched like the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game on fast forward just to make sure that the time was under 20 minutes. And honestly, there was a lot of. I mean, it was hard for me to find a shorter game for some reason. And I don't know. I saw Terran versus Terran, and I just figured that maybe there could be a good game out of it. Maybe my mistake was not watching the whole game because, yeah, I mean, maybe if I would have seen that it was simply everything leading up to one thing and then just going down after that, maybe I would have picked something else. But that's been a habit of mine to not watch the games at least completely beforehand. So.
Alright, that's fair. That's some bad luck then. I think you were clearly bottom of the pile, and that's really all I have.
So here's my question. You gave us a little representation of SCVs passing each other and giving each other a high five. You did the barracks passing each other and giving each other a high five. Can you give us a taste of what maybe two command centers giving us a high five would sound like?
Yeah, that would probably take about 30 seconds of slow motion, and that'd be kind of annoying. So, I've thought about it, but generally Terran doesn't use command centers to scout, so I don't know, maybe that wouldn't work out too well.
All right, fair enough then.
My other question is, in watching the replay, there were a few things that I felt you missed. When have you watched? I'm guessing you have, but have you watched pro games and noticed the things that they click on and some of the basic entertainment stuff that I find they click on in professional commentators? I feel like you missed. I'm going to give you the best example I can think of off the top of my head: the burning barracks that the Wraith was attacking. Why didn't you click on that?
I agree, and I don't know. I felt like, well, I mean, I'll agree. I didn't feel like my observing was up to par as it normally is. I mean, I've observed many games. I've practiced observing games, believe it or not. I mean, I've recorded videos that I've never posted just because, it's not a point to post a whole bunch of my own personal games. But no, I have seen that, and I don't know about this game. I don't know if I was just too distracted because there's so, obviously I am probably one of the least technical of this. And I will admit that. And so I was trying so hard to, find the technical things and find something to talk about that I think I just got careless with the clicking. So yeah, I agree. And there was a couple times that I watched it myself where I thought, oh man, I should have clicked on this or that. So yeah, I think it was probably a noob mistake. So.
Well, there's a lot of opinions there, but I will leave it to Smiley to give the concluding thoughts here. Any summary of your game and what the judges said would be great.
Thanks. Well, I just want to say I do really appreciate the feedback from you guys, of course, and everybody else who has left feedback on here. I definitely, I've been watching StarCraft for a while, and the fact that I've even made it this far is great, I think, and it's something that's encouraged me to really try to get on my game and definitely improve on whatever I can in my commentating. So I just want to give a big thank you. I definitely see my weaknesses in the game and I see my strong points overall. And as far as getting the map names right and things like that, and getting the technical build orders and all that, something that I will definitely strive for in the future. So I appreciate the support and all the advice. Thanks a lot.
All right, and with that, we'll conclude the review of the contestants, which will move on to the voting coming up right now. All right, so briefly, we're going to take a look at Week 1's results. Here were the results from Week 1 of the polls. Remember that Smiley was ahead in the polls from the viewers, followed by Morph, Hazel, Kenny, Hamilcar, and Park X. Now, the final results ended up with Morph being first, with Smiley, Park X, Kenny, Hazel, and Hamilcar following, with Hamilcar being eliminated, of course. But now let's go to the points from the viewers of this week. Here we see that Hazel is in the lead with 637 points, Kenny with 459, Park X with 434, and Morph with 1081. Morph 1081 with 433 points are all very, very close, and they're followed up by Smiley, who went from first to last in points from viewers. After these interviews were completed, the judges have just voted. Of course, they did not know how the public voted for these people, and here are the results from the judges. We see that there is a flat tie, 385 points being allotted to both Kenny and Morph this week from the judges, 140 being awarded to Hazel, and 35 being rewarded for Park X, but no points, unfortunately, were rewarded for Smiley, which brings us to these final results. And the final results are as follows. Kenny, Morph, and Hazel, all three of them around 800 points, Park X at 459 points, and Smiley remaining at 269 points, which makes him our second elimination of the Commentator Idol. And as the host, I would like to say that this week's competition was fiercer than anything I've ever seen. As a leader of the commentator forum at SC2GG.com, I've had a chance to deal with dozens and dozens of new commentators, but really, I've never seen new commentators do as well as this group has, and certainly the level of competition this week was very high. So I would like to first off congratulate the first four members, Kenny, Morph, Hazel, and Park X, for moving on to the next round. And I would also like to congratulate Smiley for making it so far. For someone who's just started on commentating and hasn't been in the pro scene for very long, he's done an absolutely amazing job to get to where he is right now, to get through all the submissions, and I think he's got an absolutely great personality. He might need some work on technical knowledge, but I definitely think he should continue commentating in the future. So Smiley's actually here with us, and do you have any words you want to say?
I need a moment. I'm just kidding. All right. Well, hey, it was a very fun time. Big time props to all you guys, the judges and producers, and everyone putting it together. And I just want to say that I'm going to keep making commentaries and keep trying to improve myself. And if you guys want to see a awesome walk of shame, look up the reverse strip video that I have on YouTube under my account. That's all.
Yes, I remember that clip. It is actually an amazing feat of choreography. He recorded it in reverse, but it looks like it's going forward. You'll see it right here. Here's a small clip.
I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah. The mother boys don't know how to act. Yeah. I think it's special what's behind your back. Yeah. So turn around and I'll pick up the slack.
I want to say something to Smiley. Smiley, you can feel free to place wherever you want for whatever it's worth to you that you got the peanut color award for this week, because I thought that was great.
Thank you. I like colored peanuts, so that's cool.
eBay that shit.
All right. With that, we'll be concluding our show with just a short announcement of the assignment for next week. And actually, we're going to have a decision about that, so 1 second. Let me pause. All right, and the next assignment will be dual commentaries. It's going to be double trouble. We're going to have 2 pairs of commentators formed from the remaining 4 people, and the winner from this week with the most points was Kenny, and he had a chance to decide who he wanted to partner up with for this dual commentary, and he just told me he decided he will partner up with Hazel. So the 2 teams will be Kenny and Hazel and Morph and Park X for this week's dual commentary assignment. The commentator pairs will each do 2 mirror matchups from Pro Korean StarCraft in the last 30 days, and they'll put the videos up on both of their accounts. The voting will be very different this week. Really quickly, there'll be 3 votes that you'll have. Each viewer and judge will be able to vote for which commentary they like better, which dual commentaries overall they like better, and then they'll vote for which person in each pair they felt was the stronger commentator. And that doesn't necessarily mean the person who spoke into the mic the most, not the mic hog necessarily, but just the person who worked the best and helped generate the best dynamic. And then the person who got fewer votes in the commentary that was liked least will be eliminated at the next episode. With that, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Thank you guys for all your suggestions, by the way. I've tried to incorporate them and change up the format of the video every time, so hope you guys like this format. Please do leave suggestions, and please do go back to SC2GG.com this Thursday when the dual commentaries will be up from all 4 remaining contestants, which again are Kenny, Hazel, Morph, and Park X. Congratulations to you. Thank you very much for coming along, and for our judges, Peanut and Rise, as always, for coming along, and for Chill, thank you very much for coming all the way from Team Liquid and giving the great advice and criticism that you gave this episode. I am the host of SC2GG Commentator Idol. This is Cholera, and we're signing off. So long.
No, it's only because I love to suck cock, I just spend it getting down on my knees to the other person.
Damn it! I wish I was recording that.
I am recording this. I turned it off about 2 seconds ago. I have the outtake.